Hey, my friend, what's going on? Much love, and I trust that you're well. I trust that this message finds you in a good place or finds you in a good space in life. So, so I contemplated sharing this story. I actually debated with myself whether or not I should share this, but I'm going to share this because I believe that somebody needs to hear this, and maybe that's you. So the other day, I'm here in my apartment complex, just, about to head out, go to the grocery store, grab some juice, what have you. And as I'm going out, I noticed something peculiar, something a little bit strange that I haven't seen before. And it's here in this apartment complex. I'm actually on the 3rd floor here. So I walk out of the door. I don't take the elevator. I usually always take the stairs. I just, enjoy the exercise. So I walk out of the door on the 3rd floor. And as I'm heading down the stairs, before I reach the 2nd floor, there's doors on each floor of the stairs to go into the hallways that enter into the rooms for each of the tenants here at my apartment complex. And there was a woman. There was a lady. She was Latina. She was standing outside of the door on the 2nd floor. Now, what was interesting was the 2nd floor has a small window. And each of these doors have this small window that you can see through on the outside and the inside. What's interesting is instead of being on the inside, this lady was looking through the window on the outside. So she was just standing there in the middle of the stairway, in the stairwell, just looking through the window of the door on the 2nd floor. And I could distinctly hear something in my ear. There was something being whispered. I was wondering what. So I walked up to the lady and I said, "Oh, hey," I was almost a little bit startled. And I said, "Hey, oh, hey there." She didn't flinch. She wasn't startled. She didn't really even almost register that I was there. She just turned around. She looked at me for a brief moment, and I saw her turning over something in her hand. It was like a silver pendant, like a silver chain with a pendant on the chain. And she was just turning over in the palm of her hand as she was whispering words. And it was like spooky. It was like, oh. I didn't know what to think. I was like, what is going on here? She was like, and she turned around and she walked into the door of the 2nd floor, and I just saw her through the window. I looked and I saw her just standing there in the middle of the hallway, just fondling this silvery chain, whispering these whatever words, and just looking down the hallway, just whispering the words, fondling the chain. And I got out of there. I got out. I did. I'm a curious person. I have a curious mind. But in that moment, I wasn't that curious. I wasn't that curious to figure out what this lady was doing in this apartment complex. But, not to be superstitious, right? We got to be judicious. We don't want to be superstitious, but that was probably one of the first times I've ever seen a glimpse into something on that caliber, something of that magnitude, where it seemed like straight out of a movie, like someone was performing a spell or a ritual or a hex, or I don't know, or maybe even she was locating somebody. Who knows what she was doing? But it didn't feel like a spell of protection. It didn't feel like divine direction. It felt like something dark. It felt like darkness. And I could feel energy. I could feel the energy emanating, and it just felt dark. I felt like I need to get out of here. I need to mind my own business, right? I tell you this story to tell you There are things in this life that we know not of. There are things that are happening all the time. There are things that people are able to do that we know not. There are things that people are into that we know not. There are ways of the mystics, magical, the mystical, the fantastical, the illogical, the irrational, right? There are things that the logical mind cannot grasp, and questions we might have never have asked. And the reason why I say this is because during my first Pranic retreat, when I was gathered around people who were not eating, and I was being mentored by someone who was not depleting, someone who was not needing, someone who was not feeding, when I thought that you could not be proceeding without putting something in your mouth, without a form of consumption. This person, his name, of course, is Elitom Elamin, and when we were with him, we were witnessing something strange. Just like when I seen that lady, I was witnessing something strange. I was witnessing a woman performing an act, performing a ritual, performing something that I didn't understand. When I was looking at Elitom, I was witnessing the same, but in a different way. He was performing and illustrating an embodiment of freedom, an embodiment of sovereignty, an embodiment of autonomy. We were all there witnessing him. We were with him pretty much all hours of the day, pretty well all hours of the day. And for hours, he would be talking. For hours, he could be walking. For hours, we were just with him, working with the energy, doing Qigong, exercising, meditating, having Breatharian conversations, having divine communication, just raising the vibration in the household. And day by day, we watched him. He wasn't fatigued, he wasn't tired, he wasn't lethargic. And this energy was contagious. It started to expand your mind. It started to broaden your horizons. It started to open the scope of your vision when you were realizing that perhaps this reality is different for different people. Perhaps just like that woman who is in her own reality, in her own mentality, performing something that I knew not of. I didn't understand what she was doing. Same with Elitom, this teacher who's going around traveling the world, showing people that the impossible could be possible. That the only limitation is our imagination. He's not eating, he's not drinking. I'm like, what am I thinking? How could it be possible that this man is still alive? Not only just surviving, how is it possible this man is thriving? And this was the illogical mindset that started arriving. To understand that there was so much nourishment we could be deriving from nature, from the air, from the ether, from the atmosphere, from the cosmos, from the sun, the solar energy, that we could be nourished. And just by living by example, it was much more encouraged. So I just wanted to tell you this today, that there are people operating in dimensions, dimensional planes, spaces of awareness, in all fairness, that we know not of, we do not understand. But that's only to say the power is in your hands. Not to say that you can't, but actually you can. if you would like, as we work with the light, to kindle that flame and let the fire ignite. It's very exciting. It's even inviting when we can understand the power that is presiding. Let your peace be residing, my friend. Keep growing. You never know which direction your life could be going. Much love. And for more information like this, definitely check out our website for all things Breatharianism and Pranic living. And that's at patreon.com/pranicpath. See you soon.